Welcome to the show, From the Soapbox to the Stage. I'm your host, Bill Corbett. If you've ever dreamed of standing on a stage to inspire, educate, or motivate an audience, then you've tuned in to the right show. Now, a professional speaker's schedule is an unconventional one. Sometimes he or she is spending days and weeks packing, traveling, and speaking, but other times there can be a great deal of downtime. Now, my guest says there's an art to creating that flow of work and to know how and what to do during that time. With me on the show today is Mike Jaffe, a nationally recognized inspirational and motivational speaker, seminar leader, and business and personal coach. He's the author of the book, Wake Up, Your Life is Calling, Why Settle for Fine When So Much More is Possible. Mr. Jaffe received his MBA in Management and Marketing from New York University and holds numerous coaching credentials, including Board Certified Coach, and Certified Life Purpose Coach. So as a coach and a speaker, you've got your hands full, and sometimes, as I said coming on the show, it can be really full, and other times it's not. And then that means you also have kind of an odd flow of income as well. So your primary tip that you gave, and you gave me a couple, was that you've got to really fill the pipeline full of stuff. And sometimes it's not always the big paid gigs, right?
Absolutely. I believe very strongly that if you're a speaker, you need to speak. And speaking is very experiential, and possibilities, opportunities are going to be created the more that people experience you. And so, as you mentioned, this is not a stable paycheck every other week kind of career that we're choosing here. So if that's what you're looking for, this is a very different type of lifestyle than that. And we could feast or famine at any time. The key is during those downtimes, even when you're busy, you've got to still get yourself out there and speak so that people can see you, so that opportunities can be created. So for example, for me, no matter what, every month I'm doing a talk at one of the local resorts, and I don't get paid for it because the value that it gives me is so much more than that, and I'm also exposing myself to as many people as possible in this opportunity. And I've definitely gotten speaking and coaching and workshop opportunities as a result of that. So you can't sit back and hold on for the big fish. You need to just keep fishing and keep fishing and keep fishing.
And you're so right, because sometimes people, they say, well, I'm not getting any money for this, or not much money, but you have no idea what that could lead to. You have no idea, because you have no idea who's going to be in your audience. And I've had experiences where somebody in the audience really didn't help me, but it was put on video, or it was put on the website, and somebody saw it. And you have to believe that if you just continue to get out there and get noticed, people are going to notice you, and it can really take you places.
More now than ever. We are in a networked world, and so the more touch points you have, the more multiplier there is. So as you mentioned, this person might see you, but they may be close friends with somebody who's an event planner. You have no idea. So it may not be a direct hit, but it may be an indirect hit, 3 levels away. Somebody on LinkedIn, somebody here, somebody there. I mean, it's really a matter of getting yourself out there, not being the world's best kept secret.
And I think what also works with that is we feel more comfortable recommending people we've seen. Because you could say you're a great speaker and everything, but if you're not out on YouTube, if you're not out speaking and being seen, it's going to be very difficult for somebody to recommend you or to suggest you, or especially if they join a board or a committee, and if they've seen you, then they're more likely. Because I think seeing the person live and seeing them perform is way more effective than the best press kit you could ever put together, right?
Absolutely. You got to remember that these people are taking a risk on the speaker that they select. And so we need to minimize their risk. And we're going to do that by giving them as much of an experience of us as possible so that they're comfortable in recommending us, so that they absolutely will go for it and bring us into their organization. Because again, their budgets are tight everywhere, no matter what. And they don't have the luxury of making a mistake. And if you're not foremost and present in their minds, they're probably going to go with a safer choice.
Now, do you have any suggestions for aspiring speakers or those who are kind of new? How do you find some of those opportunities? Any suggestions that may have worked for you or that you've learned from other speakers? How do you get the low-paid and sometimes pro bono work to be able to get that exposure?
Well, there are a couple of ways. I mean, one is look at your network. We are so networked, as I mentioned. offer to do a talk for an organization at a low fee or even a no fee, because what you want is to be called back to do a bigger talk for them. So if you can get in there and they can experience you, that's great. Reach out to your warm leads. The other thing is there are always local and regional organizations that are always looking for speakers, and most of them have very little budget. So the tendency is to pass on those because we want to get paid for the talking we're doing. But again, it's a great place to start to build your portfolio, to build your book of business, to build your confidence, and to build your exposure.
What's your recommendation for when an organization contacts you and says, we're looking for a speaker, we don't have much money, and what's your fee? And so how would you suggest to handle that? Because they could have money. You don't know. They could be holding back because they're trying to protect gatekeepers. Their job is to protect the budgets. So they might have, all of $5,000 for the entire year, which might be, our fee. So they want to say, what's your fee? We don't have much money. How would you handle that?
You need to dialogue with them. Are you going on a plane somewhere? Is it going to take 2 or 3 days out of your schedule? Is it something you can drive to? How much of your own time and effort is it going to take? Also, are there ways to integrate other opportunities in there? Can you, for example, I have my book. Can I do some kind of book signing? Can I tag on some kind of coaching program? So the speaking itself may not be the lead, but it may be part of a bigger program.
And that brings up a good point, the book. The book can be your vehicle to opportunities, because I ran into a situation where the organization said, we have no money to hire the speaker, but we do have a publications budget where we can buy materials for our group. And they'll probably say, they said, well, what's the best deal you can give us? But if that's all I'm getting paid, that's still a good sizable order of books could potentially work out better than nothing, right?
Oh, absolutely. And they often come from different budget items in the organization. So where they may not be able to pay you, say, $5,000 for your speaking fee, if they're going to give you $20 or $25 per book for 500 people in the room, now you're making up your fee and even then some.
You bring up a good point also about use your network.
Yes.
And I think I've run into people who really don't take a good advantage of it, and then they wonder why they're not getting hired. What I've noticed, what I do anyway, is when I go to an event and I look at the people around and I introduce myself, the first question I ask myself is, how can I help them? Or how can they help me? Or how can we do it together? The same goes like on LinkedIn when somebody connects with you. I think people don't always get it. We're not consciously aware of how powerful when it says so-and-so wants to, link up with you. And some people see it as an annoyance, but I think we drill deeper. Go to that person's profile and say, how can I help them? And I always like to start with how can I help first rather than how can they help me? And sometimes by helping them, we'll get our rewards in return, right?
Absolutely. Give first. The number one rule of networking is give first. You want to start to establish goodwill and value. And so by doing that, by reaching out and giving, now you're establishing and deepening the relationship. And then when you go to ask for some opportunities on your own side, they're not going to be backpedaling away because they think you're just hawking at them.
One of the other points that you gave to me was video rules.
Yeah.
Talk about that for a minute.
Well, again, speaking is so experiential, and somebody reading about you on a piece of paper or on a website is not nearly as powerful if they can see you in a video, if they can experience you, if they can hear the interaction with the audience, if they can hear how the audience is responding to you, the tone you have, the confidence that you have, the message that you have. For me, video is just such an important medium as a speaker. And even with the speaking bureaus that I work with, and by the way, speaking bureaus are a great channel, another channel to develop opportunities. Might as well have an army of people out there trying to develop opportunities for you, not just yourself. They all require a very good video. And so it's a visual and it's an experiential art. You need to use those kind of tools.
And that's a very good point, because when I'm looking for speakers for the show, I want to see what you look like first. Because there's a lot of speakers out there, they don't have the practical experience or the skill to really help others. So video is very important. And you said, you touched on before, amass an army. And that, like you mentioned about the bureaus. How else can you amass an army?
Yeah, you can use the speaking bureaus, but you can also do it from a commission-based opportunity. I have used interns and I've used other people that are not necessarily looking for full-time work, but they happen to have some experience in doing business development. And I'll use them and I'll give them a part or a percentage of anything that they drive. And so that's a really great way, especially if you're not making a lot of money yet. You don't have a lot of money to lay out in front. So you do it based on performance. If they can get you some speaking engagements, they can get a piece of that action.
Well, very, very, very valuable tips that you've given us and the viewers. And I thank you so much for coming out, Mike. You had an incredible experience that put you on this path. We learned about that in the first segment, and good for you. And you've really changed, and you're changing other people's lives as well. So thanks for being here.
Thanks. It's my honor.
On today's show, we met Mike Jaffe, a nationally recognized inspirational and motivational speaker. His primary tip for us was keep speaking to fill the pipeline of gigs. Now that means a good professional speaker is constantly creating relationships, especially local ones, to showcase their talent, to get seen and get heard. The more you showcase your talent, the more likely you are to get recommended and hired. I hope you'll join me for future episodes of the show as I set out to tap into the knowledge of professional speakers who are willing to share their secrets for success on the stage. Now, as Dale Carnegie once said, make the most of today, get interested in something, shake yourself awake, and let the winds of enthusiasm sweep through you with gusto. I'm Bill Corbett. I'll see you the next time on From the Soapbox to the Stage.